Ahoy there folks, and welcome back to another developer Q&A video for Eve Echoes. I'm Captain Benzie, and this week's developer Q&A is a little bit unusual. The answers themselves are fairly short, but there's a lot of really cool talking points in here where we can extrapolate from previous developer Q&As, along with things like Discord AMAs, and just conversations that I've had with the developers. So hopefully you'll enjoy this one. There's a lot of insight we can give into the game, even if the developers themselves didn't give us much to work with. Now, as usual, if you do enjoy this video, please take that second just to hit like on it, drop a comment down below on what you think in regards to these questions, and of course, if you do want to help support the channel, I have a Patreon page you can pledge to support, and a Redbubble merchandise store, all linked in the description below. Anyway, all of that said and done then, let's jump right in then to the developer Q&A for the week of the 6th to the 12th of December. Can't believe it's Christmas next week. That's just shot out insanely quickly. Question number 1 then. Please can you open up hauling and deliveries from ITCs to all nullsec NPC stations from New Eden? Can be unlocked with Expert 3 skill maybe, higher risk, higher reward. Cloud says when we update the logistics system in the future, we will consider opening it up to nullsec. Now, there are a couple of things that we can take from this. One is the fact that he says when we update the logistics system in the future. That means Cloud has every intention of updating this at some point in the future. Again, it's those 3 words, in the future, which means when we feel like it or when we've done everything else first, but at least it's on the cards, an actual update to the logistics hauling system. Logistics in this regard obviously is in regards to hauling stuff from A to B, freighting, that kind of thing, not logistics as in remote armor and shield repair and that kind of thing. We're talking hauling here. Now, the other thing to think of this is that we'll consider opening it up to nullsec. I don't think that should be a consideration. I think that should be an absolute confirmation. Hauling absolutely should be able to go to nullsec. There are plenty of stations in nullsec, NPC stations. They should be going to those at the very least. Whether or not you decide to allow hauling to capsuleer outposts and corporation citadels, I completely understand. Let me know your thoughts on that one in the comment section down below, though, because I do understand that some people think that that should be, and other people think that they should never allow that. And I'd love to know your reasoning behind those thoughts. But for me, going to the nullsec NPC stations, absolutely, that should be a thing, and hauling needs all the love it can get right now. It's not a terrible way of making income. Like, if you just want to play the game completely offline, you pick up stuff, you offline autopilot to wherever, you log back in and then just keep going around like that. There are ways to make some ISK from it, but just nowhere near where it should be, man. Like that, it needs some serious love, I think. Anyway, if you're a hauler, let me know your thoughts. Question number 2 then. Player-owned stations need work, to be honest. Station defenses should be automated and require no player controlling besides keeping the station fueled. I'm going to pause here for a moment, because you're thinking, hang on, Benzie's going to go off on one about game automation. Yeah, I do. I often go off against people who want the game automated, who don't want to have to do things in-game. This, however, I kind of agree with this one. Stations shouldn't require you to do something. They should fire back on their own. Like, you're paying for a station, right? You're fueling a station. You've built this station. It should absolutely defend itself with the pathetic modules that you fit to it. Right now, most capsuleer outposts and that just don't bother fitting any of the missiles, etc., because there's no point. If you're going to be online defending your station, most people would rather do it as a ship in a fleet rather than the station itself. So the stations absolutely should have this. It would be fairly minor for what it matters, but at least it's something. The question goes on. Also, as a station is massive, it should have shields and armor that are massive. The fact that a single ship can come attack a station and put it into reinforcement is silly. If this is a true PvP, it should take at least a handful of people to such a task. Don't you think this is the case? No, I actually don't think this is the case here. We do have a thing called ticks, station ticks, shield ticks, that kind of thing, where you can only do so much damage to a station within a certain amount of time. If you are going to sit there and let someone with a stealth bomber or whatever just blow away your ship's shields, then it takes a long time. Like, you can just rally friends to come against them, and I get that you might be offline at the time, but that doesn't really change much. This feels kind of like, again, someone's had their station attacked, which, let's be fair, with the war going on at the moment, I've had my capture outposts attacked as well. And this is, it's a thing. It's a thing. You get notifications and you can't always be online at those times. I get it. But at the same token, to just make it massive, they are massive. They already are massive. They have more HP than most other ships in the game, and you have the fact that you can only deal so much damage to them per tick, which ships don't have. So they already are massive, is my thought here. There is plenty of time to muster a defense fleet if you are available. If you are unavailable, then, you know, jump on Discord and let someone know that your station's under attack, maybe. I don't know. I think ultimately, if a handful of people in stealth bombers want to go around hitting people's stations, I'm okay with that. That is PvP. To say, oh, if this is true PvP, it is PvP. You're just not engaging with that system at this point in time. You're either not letting your fleets, your friends know that your station is under attack, and thus there's a PvP opportunity for them, or you're not logging on yourself to get involved in that PvP opportunity. The PvP's there. You're asking for actually a way to just lessen it, which is a really weird thing to say, that when if you're going to use PvP as a reason to, as evidence for your argument, make sure it does actually support your argument. Now, Cloud does say there are plans to diversify structures and structure modules for player-owned stations, and this is a good thing. I'm also hoping that that does include the aforementioned station skins. They've teased skins for stations so many times, and honestly, to me, that would be a really good money sink. I know a lot of people who would love to make their station look that little bit different. And paying money for that, as long as there's no real-world effect for it, I think is absolutely fine. I think there's a lot of cool stuff you could do there. I'm not suggesting we add station nanocores, and now that I've said that, watch as they add station nanocores, but just skins to make it look unique. I would love to see a few more modules on there, different types of high slots, mid slots, low slots, that kind of thing, just to help diversify stations a little bit. But it's good to know that that is on the plan at the moment. If you have a Capsuleer outpost or a Corporation Citadel under your command, what do you think? Do you think they need bigger shields and armor, or do you think they need more variety in the modules? What kind of modules would you like to see added to it? I'm curious on that one, because I have 2 Capsuleer outposts. I have, worked with Corporation Citadels, and I honestly think the system is pretty okay. I'd like to see more Capsuleer outposts for variety, but the Corporation Citadels are pretty cool. Anyway, let's move on then to question number 3. Nice short one here. Are there any plans to add more NPC factions? Can we actually let them release the Yanjung first before we get any more? Also, what's up with the inaccessible space towards the east of New Eden, Jovian space? Cloud says, yes, more NPC factions are planned. First of all, please can that be the Yanjung? You have teased the Yanjung. You've given us prototype ships. You've given us a few basic weapons. We even have the bloody skills in the game right now. Give us the actual ships. You have teased these for so long now. We need the actual Yanjung added to the game. Add those first. Before you start messing around adding new NPC factions, get the freaking Yanjung in. Calm, Benzie. After this, yeah, there's all kinds of stuff you could add. There were rumours abound in EVE Online recently that there was going to be a new faction added as well. Ultimately, if you look at sort of it's what's referred to as the racial pie, kind of like the colour pie in Magic the Gathering. Each race has its own unique feature or sort of, thing that identifies it. And when you combine 2 of those together, you get a pirate faction. And those pirate factions are mixtures of their races, the 2 constituting races' abilities. So, for example, Caldari are big on shields, Gallente are big on drones, therefore Guristas, which in EVE Online require Gallente and Caldari skills, use drones and have big shields. If you're looking at the Blood Raiders, they are a mix of Minmatar ship skills and Amar ship skills in EVE Online. Amar for all of their energy neutralizer and Nosferatu stuff, and Minmatar for the stasis webifier kind of things. Same when you look at Angel Cartel, it is Gallente and Minmatar, because you get those mixes there of the Minmatar speed with, the Minmatar speed basically. But when you look at these, so if we look at, say, all the different NPC factions, they all have a crossover with the notable exception of Minmatar and Caldari. No faction uses Minmatar skills and Caldari skills. It just doesn't exist. Guristas is Caldari and Gallente, and I've discussed it all there. I'm not going to go through it all. So there was a theory that perhaps the Thucker tribe were going to be added using sort of a mix of Kaldari and Minmatar stuff, and that would be really cool. And I think there is space for an NPC faction beyond the Yanjung in Eve Echoes. I think we just need the Yanjung first, right? Anyway, finally then, on to question number 4. Will the markets be region locked anytime in the future? And oh boy, people get so angry at this question, but it is a good thing. We'll come back to that. As of now, everyone flocks to Jita to do their trading. Although this creates convenience, it honestly takes out the point in having other ITCs. Yes, and a lot more besides. It also takes away opportunity for region-based traders to specialize in specific items. Hopefully this will bring a much needed fresh air in the market. Now, let's jump into this before we look at Cloud's answer. First of all, region locking markets. Again, in EVE Online, and I'm aware EVE Echoes is different to EVE Online. In EVE Online, if you are in a region, you only see that region's markets. If you are flying around, say, Konora or Pater, you don't see what's on sale in Jita. You have to go to Jita and check that yourself, or be within so many jumps of Jita at least. And there are skills that actually increase the range at which you can see other stations. Now, what this does, combined with the fact that EVE Online has awful autopilot that drops you about 20 k's off the gate and then slow boats you into range to do the jump, so autopiloting takes a lot longer than manual flight, and also obviously you can't offline autopilot. It means that people will choose to buy at an ITC, well, not even an ITC, just a station that is convenient to them. The ITCs that we have in EVE Echoes are absolutely arbitrary. The main trade hubs in EVE Online, like, for example, Pater is an ITC in EVE Echoes. No one trades at Pater in EVE Online. It's Heck is the closest one there, the biggest Minmatar trade center. You've got places like Rents and Dodixie, because the developers of EVE Online didn't set up an actual ITC system. They just put stations, and you could sell anything at any station, including your own. Now, what this meant was that people from various regions would start to trade in one main center. So, Dodixie, for example, if you're over in Galente space, it just formed. It was where people decided, like completely naturally and fluidly, that they were going to sell their wares and buy from other people. And so that became the trade center in Galente space. And Jita was only chosen like by the players in its current position because it had a load of really good agent missions there that you could do. It was very central to all of the empires, and it kind of grew from there. Now, since then, the developers of EVE Online have naturally made Jita bigger and better. It has its own unique graphics. If you play EVE Online, do go and check it out. I did a video actually on it as well, so search for Exploring Jita or just Jita on my channel. You'll find that video where I showcase how beautiful it is, both inside and out. It's its own unique model. It's gorgeous, and I hope we get stuff like that in EVE Echoes. But basically, they were natural trade points. By having this ITC system that we have here, they're not natural trade points, and the fact that it's so easy to just go to Jita and everyone can just see Jita means everyone goes to Jita. Now, the upside and downside of this, and I'm aware I'm going on this one, the upside and downside of this, the upside is for consumers. Anyone who is selling there is competing against everyone else, right? When everyone is supplying in one place, that pushes the price down, because if I'm selling something for 100,000 ISK, 100 million ISK or whatever, you're selling it for 90 million ISK, people are going to buy yours before they buy mine, so they push the price down, right? That is good for the consumer. It's also obviously decent enough that we can always just look at what something sells for at Jita, fly there, pick it up, and off we go. For the actual traders, though, for the industrialists, that's awful, because it means everyone on the server is competing with everyone else on the server, which means prices are pushed right the way down, so that only those people with maximum level skills can even remotely be competitive. It also completely negates hauling. The concept in EVE Online that if I want to buy something from Jita, I've got to fly to freaking Jita. Whereas if I want to buy from Heck, Heck's 3 jumps from me. That's nice and easy to do. But if I buy it from Jita, I could then pay someone to haul it. Or better yet, you get budding industrialists, or, marketeers, I suppose is a better term, who will fly to Jita, look for stuff that is cheap there, but expensive at other stations. They'll buy a load of stuff at Jita, haul it across the galaxy to another station, sell it there at a profit, and then do that between multiple stations. And it's an entirely valid way of making ISK. It's a really cool system. And we will never have that, because you can just fly to Jita, right? You can just offline autopilot, to Jita and everything's there and everything's visible. Absolutely, I think that markets should be region locked. I absolutely agree that, this should be a thing. I have also said in the past, and we will get to the answer to this question, I promise, eventually. The suggestion I've mentioned before on this is to increase and decrease taxes across the board for different things. So, for example, if you want to sell lasers, you sell them at an Amarian ITC, like Amar or Corazor or whatever. And you would get either a reduction in the taxes there if you sell it, or just an increase in non-Amarian goods being taxed. You could even do this the other way round, that Amarian stations have higher taxes on things like neutralizers, Nosferatus, and lasers, and thus people want to move to other stations to sell them, creating a more diverse flow. I don't know. Either way would work here. If you're in Kaldari space, you'd have cheaper missiles and shields. If you're in Mimitar space, you'd have cheaper cannons and afterburners. That kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know whether you'd do it that way around or whether you'd make it so that local goods are higher taxed or local goods are lower taxed. Either could work, and the idea is to diversify trade by pushing people into other ITCs. This would massively help industry by giving them an ability to sell at a station and not be competing with literally every other industrialist on the freaking server. It spreads people out, it creates markets, it's a good thing. It really needs to happen. What does Cloud say? Common items such as ships, modules, ores will still be sold in the ITCs, so that is a more convenient to most of the capsuleers. As for special items and related trade activities of each region, there aren't certain plans for now. It's kind of a disappointing answer if I'm being completely honest. I get that maybe certain, things like ore, ore sell wherever. But even then, I don't know, or in EVE Online, again, in EVE Online, I'm aware they're different games, all right, it works, and our system really doesn't, and that's kind of the point we're getting at here. It's not that, I want this to be EVE Online, it's not. It's that our system is flawed and isn't working, and EVE Online has a perfectly functional system that works brilliantly. So why aren't we doing it? Ores as well, you won't find every ore in every Empire space. There are some ores that are unique to Minmatar or Kaldari or Galente or Amar space, and so you do need to move around for those, or you buy them off the market, thus supporting other industrialists and miners. Really cool thing. So, I don't know. I think convenience, I think the devs sometimes in this game go a little bit too hard in for convenience. It's like people are not going to be that put out having to buy stuff and then get it hauled across the galaxy or having to check multiple markets. In EVE Online, a lot of players, and I'm talking casual players here, will just buy from Heck because, Heck's the market I use. They don't bother to check elsewhere. Even though you could get it cheaper elsewhere, the fact that they have to jump around and move to different regions to check negates that, and that helps the industrialists. It's not making it inconvenient for other players. Convenience here, I feel that that's kind of being used as almost a buzzword of, we don't want to do the thing because we're worried it'll upset people. I think most people wouldn't even really notice, other than the fact that, it's always been this way, it's no longer this way, therefore people would get angry. Had it been done this way from the start, I don't think people would care. I don't think anyone in EVE Online is sitting there going, please can you make it so I can see Jita when I'm sitting all the way down in Delve. I don't know. Again, thoughts and opinions. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. It's a rather long rant I've gone on to on that question because I think there's a lot to talk about. And I think a lot of people just don't understand these basic mechanics. And that's not a problem. People not understanding something in the game is fine. People not understanding something and claiming that they understand it or claiming that their flawed opinion of something is correct, that's a different matter. That's when I start to get angry. Someone who doesn't understand how the game works and then, you can sit there and go, actually, that's not how it works like this. And they go, oh, okay, that's cool. I'm all for that. Learning opportunities, that's excellent. But I think sometimes the developers need to have that conversation. But there is a chat with the developers later this month. I will be sitting down along with a load of the other content creators and having a chat with the developers, asking some important questions. So we'll see how that goes and see if we can get any information out of them or if it's going to be tight-lip central. Anyway, folks, that's the end of this week's Developer Q&A. Please let me know your thoughts and opinions on these questions. Do you agree with the questions? Do you agree with the answers? Do you agree with my opinions? Would love to know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Otherwise, happy sailing and see you all in New Eden.